Have you ever heard a story that left you speechless? Something so profound and so humbling, it changes the way you think about faith forever? Well, settle in, because today we're diving into one of the most remarkable moments in biblical history, the story of the Centurion's faith. This story has captivated hearts and minds for thousands of years, and by the end of it, you'll see why it echoes through generations. Picture this. The sun blazes over the ancient city of Capernaum, nestled along the beautiful Sea of Galilee. Capernaum was no ordinary town. It was a hub of activity during biblical times. Merchants traded goods, fishermen brought in their daily haul, and people bustled through dusty streets. But amidst this commotion was a man unlike most of the others in the town. He was a Roman centurion, a high-ranking officer in the Roman army. Stationed far from Rome, this man was part of the occupying force, a symbol of foreign control. Yet something about this centurion was unusual. He wasn't just there to enforce Roman law. He had a reputation in Capernaum, a reputation of kindness. Though he had power over people, he used it humbly and even helped construct a synagogue for the local Jewish community. That's right, a Roman officer. Someone who wielded authority by the sword, had earned the respect of the very people he was supposed to rule. One day, a tragedy struck the centurion's household. One of his servants, someone he deeply cared about, fell gravely ill. The servant lay on a bed, his breaths shallow, his energy fading. He had served faithfully for years, and now it seemed like his life was slipping away. The centurion was desperate. In those days, there was no modern medicine, no emergency care. People often relied on faith healers, traditional remedies, or simply hoped for the best. But this centurion had heard rumors, whispers in the wind, about a Jewish rabbi named Jesus. Jesus of Nazareth was becoming famous across the region. Water turned into wine, blind men could see, the lame could walk. Miracles followed him wherever he went. Many doubted, of course. Some called him a heretic. But where there was smoke, there was fire. And the centurion, though a man of Rome and not raised in the Jewish faith, believed there was truth in these rumors. Now pause for a moment and put yourself in his shoes, or rather, his sandals. You're a Roman centurion, raised to believe in the gods of Rome. You're surrounded by a culture of power and conquest. Yet something stirs inside you. A tug, a whisper, a realization that maybe the gods of Rome don't hold all the answers. This Jesus, even from afar, possesses something unique, divine authority. So the centurion decided to act. But he did so in a way that reveals so much about his character. He didn't storm into Jesus' presence demanding assistance. He didn't flaunt his rank or try to buy a miracle with gold. Instead, he sent Jewish elders to speak on his behalf. These elders approached Jesus with a plea. They explained how much the centurion had done for their community. They asked Jesus to consider helping the servant, and Jesus agreed. He began walking toward the centurion's house, alongside a small crowd of curious onlookers. But before Jesus could arrive, there was another twist. The centurion sent friends to deliver a message to Jesus. Can you guess what he said? This is one of the most humble, faith-filled moments in the Bible. He said, "Lord, do not trouble yourself, for I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Therefore, I did not presume to come to you, but say the word, and let my servant be healed." Did you catch that? Say the word. Just speak, and it will be done. The centurion compared Jesus' authority to his own, saying essentially, "I know what it means to command. I say to a soldier, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another, 'Come,' and he comes." That's how authority works. I believe you have that kind of authority, not over soldiers, but over illness and life itself. Now let's pause and unpack this. The centurion wasn't even Jewish. He didn't grow up hearing stories of Abraham, Moses, or Elijah. but his faith in Jesus' power and authority surpassed even that of many of Jesus' own followers. This wasn't blind faith. It was reasoned, deliberate, and grounded in humility. Here was a man of enormous authority, acknowledging Jesus as greater still. When Jesus heard the message, he marveled. Pause again on that thought. Jesus, the Son of God, marveled. How rare must such faith have been for him, in a world often filled with doubt, arrogance, and spiritual complacency. Jesus turned to the crowd following him and said, "I tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith." Now think about this moment. Surrounded by his disciples, the Jewish elders, curious bystanders, and Jesus himself, all eyes turned toward the centurion's house. Without even entering, Jesus' power moved. A servant on the brink of death stood up, healed, whole, restored. Just like that, with a word, Jesus performed a miracle. At that very moment, the faith of one centurion not only saved a life, but became an eternal example of trust and humility. Now, why has this story endured through the ages? Why does it still resonate so deeply? First, it's a story about humility. The centurion, despite holding significant power, approached Jesus with profound respect. He didn't let his status, nationality, or position stop him from reaching out. How often do we let our pride block us from seeking help, from admitting our own limitations? The centurion reminds us that humility is a bridge, one that leads us closer to God. Second, it's about faith. This man didn't demand signs or proofs. He believed in Jesus' authority. Even now, this level of faith challenges us. Do we trust fully in the power of God? Or do we tie our faith to conditions, demanding proof before we believe? The centurion teaches us that true faith operates on trust, not bargaining. Lastly, it's a story about unity. Here we have a Roman, an outsider from the Jewish perspective, demonstrating faith so deep that Jesus himself praised it. In a time when divisions between Jews and Romans were stark, this story breaks barriers. It shows that God's love and power aren't confined to one group. They're universal. They're for everyone who believes. So what about you? What does this story stir in your heart? Perhaps it's an invitation to greater humility, to trust, or to break down walls of division in your own life. The legacy of this centurion isn't just a historical anecdote. It's a call to action, a challenge to live out faith in ways that humbly honor God. As you let this story resonate, remember that no act of genuine faith and humility goes unnoticed by God. Whether you're facing a situation that feels hopeless, carrying burdens that seem insurmountable, or simply yearning for deeper trust, know this: the same Jesus who marveled at the centurion's faith is the same Jesus who moves in our lives today. What could it look like for you to embody that faith and humility right now, in your own corner of the world? This story is more than words on a page. It's a reminder that miracles happen when faith meets humility. And who knows? Perhaps someday your story will inspire someone else, just as the centurion's has inspired us for millennia.